I was an engineer, and in 2008, lost my job due to the economic collapse. Jobs were scarce. I didn't know where to turn to get help updating my resume. Online services and coaches charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars. I took matters into my own hands and learned how to craft interview-winning resumes. Shortly later, I landed a job with a Fortune 500 company. I've helped many achieve similar success. Now I share my tips to create interview-winning resumes, interviewing excellence, and high-performance growth strategies on my podcast, Career Growth Made Easy. Welcome back to another episode of the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I'll be your host, Craig Ansell. For episode 137, it's titled, Making the Most of Your Day. What we told our kids every day as we dropped them off at school was to make good choices. It's something they still can recite to this moment. Good choices help you start down the right paths. Sometimes, though, we take detours. This can happen in our daily lives, both during work and personally. Imagine a fork in the road. You're going down a path, perhaps driving, and you come to that decision point. If you turn left and drive through town, it's a more direct route to your destination. But you'll encounter more traffic, stoplights, stop signs, and the route may seem slower than it really is. If you take the right turn, though, take the scenic route, perhaps it's a little more mountainous. The route may, in fact, be a little bit longer, but because there's scenery, that slightly longer route doesn't feel as bad because you're moving continuously. Maybe not as the same fast pace as going through the city, but you likely won't be plagued with stop-and-go traffic. So, transitioning into today's show topic, how do you make the most of your day? Do you feel your body well with a restful night of sleep? That means both a good duration and quality night of sleep. If you're in bed, but you can't seem to shut down, that means your brain is still on and processing information. Our bodies need a certain amount of sleep each day. It's when our brains sort out the day's events, categorize information, and also remove toxic proteins that build up in our brain during the day. These toxins are natural byproducts that form from our daily routines while we're awake and thinking. So the next time you think about skipping sleep or putting a routine in place to stay up longer on a regular basis, think again. As to the duration of your sleep, various experts recommend a minimum of 6 hours, while some suggest as much as 7 to 9 hours. It seems the benefits increase slightly as long as you don't sleep too long. Now, for most of my listeners, you're probably saying, Craig, I don't have that problem that I need to sleep less. It's probably the other way around. I get it. I'd suggest you start by documenting your sleep durations. Next, followed by the quality of sleep. How long does it take you to fall asleep? How many times a night do you wake with thoughts racing through your head? And if you do, what thoughts are they? There's an old acronym I sometimes use when I coach, and it's called COME ON. It literally sounds like come on, as if to say, come on, keep going. But the meaning is, keeps me up at night, and it's spelled K-M-U-A-N. Come on. So maybe it's your brain's way of saying, come on, keep going, because there's something that's bothering you, some unfinished business. An urgent task, perhaps, some special assignment, or maybe a critical bill you need to pay before a deadline where there's a consequence like a payment penalty. Wow, I came up with all that on the fly. All right, it's a little dark, I know, but I just got you thinking, right? I guess some of those things over the years have happened to me, so it was easy to pull from my treasure trove of ideas. My point. With so much going on in our lives, we need the ability to focus and stay sharp throughout our days. And if our sleep suffers long-term, we will too, if not immediately, eventually. This can impair our brain's ability to function properly, and this includes memory retention and also affects problem solving, something we rely on daily. So with this wellness check in our sleep patterns, it's now time to start our day and make the most of it. Our choices are key to how well we perform. We're starting to push into the new year. Have you taken on too many commitments as part of the new year, new you approach? It's always good to do a self-check and see how much time you're committing to both your personal and professional projects. On the other hand, how well did you perform last year? Did you feel successful and have accomplishments that you can list? If not, and you don't make a change, then that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now, I'm not calling you insane, no way. I'm thankful to have you as one of my listeners, and I truly mean that. But this discussion is just good food for thought. If you want different results in your life, you're going to have to do something differently. You know what that is, but just in case you need a little push, this episode's here to help, and so am I. Now, one of the ways we can sabotage our days is through procrastination. If we let too much pile onto our plates, we can become overwhelmed. And overwhelm can lead to anxiety, stress, and nervousness, amongst other feelings. Severe and prolonged stress can lead to medical issues. So maybe today's show is a self-check for you. Take a breather and list down your current commitments, both personally and professionally. Does that list make you feel as you're being productive and contributing to important areas of focus? Or do you feel as though more scattered and pulled in a million directions? If it's the latter, then you might want to stop and think about how you got there. It may feel good to take on a large, challenging list of responsibilities as you're helping others. Absolutely, I understand that. I get it. But if you take on too much, it will actually have the opposite effect, as you'll likely start to miss deadlines and commitment dates. In fact, I go into detail about this situation in the first show of the new year, episode 135. Do you overpromise and underdeliver? I thought that was a catchy title, and it has a little bit of pain in it too. So you might want to stop and think, how much do you have on your plate? Now, we're 2 weeks into the new year. It'd be a great time to check out our commitment lists and see what's on tap. Are the commitments spaced out and clearly set with timelines or due dates? Or do you have the opposite effect? Are they lumped all together as if to be done immediately? Can you tell if anything is urgent? By the way, stay tuned to the end because I have an awesome freebie that I want you to have. It can help you with your decision making and list making, both personally and professionally. So now that you've got some tasks and activities that you need to complete, do you know in which order they need to be done? Were due dates randomly assigned, or are they hard dates? Dates that can't change because it'll impact others? You might want to go back and think about that as well. Make sure you've got some type of time prioritization system in place. If you realize that you've taken on too much, it might be easier to ask for a time extension before a due date passes rather than after. It's much easier to discuss reducing some of your commitments or perhaps reassigning it to someone else in extreme cases where you simply don't have the bandwidth to get it done now. This can happen especially in the latter case if something has occurred in your life that was unexpected. An emergent project has been dropped in your lap. Maybe you're dealing with a personal problem. Perhaps a suddenly unreliable vehicle has come up, a vehicle issue, or you have some, home improvement repairs that have cropped up and need to be dealt with as a priority. Those things seem to push themselves to the top of the list. And having a reliable vehicle or reliable transportation has become even more important today because our society is now part of the RTO movement, or the return to office movement. What we once could productively say we were working from home as through AWL or WFH, which was alternate work locations or working from home, it has now changed. In cases like this, where something unexpected is dropped into your lap, that's where you need to push the pause button and reevaluate your days to make sure you're making the most out of them. It may mean contacting someone asking for an extension. It may be pausing a certain set of activities to take care of something suddenly more urgent. It may mean handing off some of the work, at least temporarily. By the way, after the first step of evaluating your workload is complete, the next step is raising your hand, maybe figuratively or physically, and flagging someone down for help. You may feel it's a sign of weakness, but in truth, it's a sign of maturity and professionalism. Knowing when you're in over your head shows strong signs of self-awareness. The key, though, is to recognize it and take action. Hence, avoiding that procrastination I mentioned earlier. That reminds me of a phrase I've heard recently, and it's, bad news does not get better with age. Meaning, if you're in a difficult situation now, and it's likely to remain the same or possibly get worse, such as missing your deliverables, deadlines, or commitments, then sound the alert early. Seek help or at least try to reprioritize your matters before they're past due and then you're in some really difficult situations. Now, I mentioned earlier about a great freebie that I have, and I really want you to download it. While it can help with your personal lives, it really rocks when it comes to your work life. The simple chart I made will help you confirm you're working on the right activities. You see, we get caught up in doing a lot of things that we're comfortable with, and that's because we're somewhat in a routine. Our brains recognize these things as routine tasks and activities, and we almost feel comfortable with doing these things that we're familiar with. However, here's where the rub comes in. When we're assigned a new or unique task or project, there may be a bit of mystery or excitement about it, something new. That's cool. But that something new can also put our brains on alert because we're not comfortable or familiar with it. So it kind of is a double-edged sword. It might turn out that we push the new unique task, activity, or project out to a later time and date, essentially saying we'll get to it later. But what we might be doing is assigning a false priority as well, ultimately sabotaging ourselves. By working on what's familiar, you're likely to feel more comfortable and potentially even feel productive. You're getting those tasks or activities done. But are they the right ones is the true question. The ones that will move the needle in your job and for your company. There's a link I'm going to place in the show notes, and it's awaiting you to click it for your freebie. It's called Adding Value to Your Job. It will help you easily identify if you're working on the right projects or tasks, or perhaps if a reorganizational step is in order. Don't delay. Click the link in the show notes, or you can visit craigansell.com/resources and select Adding Value to Your Job. We also have about a dozen other freebies that you might be interested in to help you boost your day and your performance. I hope today's show provided a little wellness check for you as we're pushing into the new year. It's a great time to pause, be proud of what accomplishments you've achieved, but also to make sure you're not on a track to overload. If you are, don't follow the insanity principle, doing the same thing and expect different results. Rather, do something about it. For one, you can subscribe to our weekly podcast. And two, make sure you visit craigansell.com/resources or click the links in the show notes to make sure you download your freebie, Adding Value to Your Job. Our website is Craig Ansell, that's CRAIGANCEL.com. And finally, if you're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, or just plain confused about your work life, kind of disappointed, not sure where you're going, I'm here to help. I offer one-on-one discovery coaching. If you need to talk through your situation and put a game plan together, I'm here for you. If you want clearly defined steps to improve your situation, we'll do that together. If you feel stuck and don't know who you can talk to, maybe you need direction and a timeline so you're clear and confident about your future, we'll cover that as well. And finally, if you feel overwhelmed at work and you don't believe you're getting the recognition you deserve, you may need help finding ways to make sure your valuable contributions get acknowledged. We can work on all that together and quickly get you on a path for improvement. Visit craigansell.com/coaching for that part. I can't thank you enough for being a valuable listener of my show, Career Growth Made Easy. We always welcome your comments and suggestions, and we'd be happy to hear from you on social media, as well as be honored if you would leave some reviews on Apple or another podcast player. We truly do read the reviews and always want to make sure we're providing hot, fresh, new content for you, my valuable listener. Have a wonderful week ahead. I'm Craig Ansell, your host for the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. We will talk to you next week. God bless. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.